Welcome my channel Warth Old Coins. Today is best top 3 coins. Please don't skip this video, so let's get it started. Top 1. The 1971 Canadian 25 cents coin, commonly referred to as the quarter, is a significant and emblematic piece of Canadian decimal currency, showcasing the strength and stability of the country's monarchy, the dignity of its national symbolism, and the craftsmanship of the Royal Canadian Mint. Struck during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, its coin features the second effigy of the Queen to appear on Canadian currency, a youthful and regal portrait that reflects both a modernized Canada and the enduring legacy of British heritage. The obverse front of the 1971 25-cent coin bears the elegant right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by British sculptor Arnold Machin. This iconic image depicts Her Majesty wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a delicate yet royal crown that gives the design a sense of refinement and nobility. Surrounding the Queen's profile is the legend Elisabes Segundo degi Regina, which is the abbreviated Latin for Elizabeth II, Dei Gratia Regina, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This inscription honors her divine right to rule, continuing a centuries-old tradition in royal coinage. Machin's portrait, used from 1965 to 1989 on Canadian coins, reflects a young monarch confidently presiding over a maturing dominion. The reverse back of the coin is equally iconic and thoroughly Canadian in theme. Designed by Emmanuel Hahn, the image features a caribou, one of Canada's most recognizable and majestic northern animals, known for its massive antlers and symbolic representation of Canada's wilderness and Arctic identity. The caribou is depicted in profile.com and still, yet evoking the vast landscapes of Canada's boreal forests and tundra. Above the caribou is the word Canada, boldly printed to assert national identity, while the denomination 25 cents appears below. The date 1971 is split on either side of the animal's antlers. This design has been used on the Canadian quarter since 1937 and remains largely unchanged, a testament to its timeless appeal and deep-rooted symbolism. The minimalist yet powerful imagery of the caribou has become synonymous with Canadian coinage and represents strength, endurance, and the country's deep connection to nature. From a technical standpoint, the 1971 25-cent coin is made from a nickel alloy, composed of 100% nickel, making it non-magnetic compared to modern quarters that use plated steel. This composition gives the coin a silvery white appearance with a slight bluish hue and a solid, satisfying weight. It measures 23.88 mm in diameter, 1.58 mm in thickness, and weighs 5.83 grams. The coin has a reeded milled edge, which was originally designed to prevent coin clipping in earlier precious metal coinages, but in modern coins, it serves as both an aesthetic and anti-counterfeiting feature. The hardness of the nickel also ensures the coin resists wear well, and many examples from 1971 still survive today in relatively good condition, even after decades of circulation. The historical context of 1971 adds further richness to this coin's story. Canada was experiencing a period of cultural and political change during the early 1970s. Under Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Canada was forging a more independent identity, distinct from its colonial past, while still maintaining its constitutional ties to the British monarchy. In 1971, the Canadian government officially adopted multiculturalism as a federal policy, making Canada the first country in the world to do so. This policy reflected the nation's growing diversity, immigration, and evolving identity. Meanwhile, Queen Elizabeth II remained the official head of state, a constant symbol of unity and heritage across the vast country. Her presence on the coin served not only as a tribute to tradition but also as a reminder of the country's stable governance, democratic values, and historical roots in the British Commonwealth. The mintage of the 1971 25-cent coin was high, with over 29 million pieces struck by the Royal Canadian Mint, meaning it is not rare in general circulation. However, its full nickel composition and its pre-modern minting methods make it of increasing interest to collectors, especially those who focus on coins from the pre-1999 nickel era, when Canadian quarters were still made of solid metal alloys rather than plated steel. The 1971 quarters often included in year sets, nickel coin collections, and monarch portrait runs, particularly for those who collect all coinage featuring Arnold Machin's version of Queen Elizabeth II. Circulated versions usually hold only modest value, often just above face value, around 30 cents to $1 Canadian depending on condition. However, uncirculated boo or proof-like specimens, especially from mint sets, can be valued significantly higher, sometimes reaching $3, $10 CAD or more, depending on grading and preservation. In terms of design and cultural importance, the 1971 25-cent coin represents a blending of old-world regal elegance and new-world natural beauty. It exemplifies Canadian numismatic values, simple yet symbolic design, quality production, and national themes that resonate across generations. It also reflects the transitional years of Queen Elizabeth II's long reign, during which Canada gradually expanded its sovereignty while honoring its royal past. For students of history, economics, or coinage, this coin is a miniature relic of Canada's journey through the 20th century, both monarchical and multicultural, both traditional and forward-looking. Top 2. The 1989 Canadian 25-cents coin, commonly referred to as a quarter, represents more than just a small unit of currency. It embodies Canada's national identity, natural heritage, and the enduring presence of the British monarchy, through the figure of Queen Elizabeth II. Struck by the Royal Canadian Mint, this coin features the third official effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, crafted by Canadian artist Dora de Pedri-Hunt, introduced in 1990 but used on some coins dated 1989. This portrait marked a distinct shift from earlier designs, portraying the Queen with a more mature appearance, reflective of her status as a long-reigning sovereign with decades of service to Canada and the Commonwealth. However, most 1989 quarters still feature the second effigy, by Arnold Macon, depicting the Queen wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, facing right, with youthfulness and grace. The inscription Elizabeth Cadua Digi Regina Latin, for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, surrounds the portrait, continuing the traditional phrasing found on Commonwealth coins and emphasizing her constitutional role in Canadian government. The reverse of the 1989 quarter remains a powerful symbol of Canada's wilderness, the caribou, designed by Emmanuel Hahn. This iconic image, introduced in 1937, shows the majestic head of a caribou with tall, branching antlers in profile. Facing left above the caribou is the word Canada, while the face value 25 cents is inscribed below, and the date 1989 is split on either side of the antlers. The caribou was chosen for its deep connection to Canada's Arctic and boreal regions, symbolizing endurance, freedom, and the relationship between Canadians and their northern environment. Hahn's elegant and minimalist design has endured for decades, remaining one of the longest-running reverse designs in Canadian coinage. It is celebrated not only for its artistry but also for its ability to communicate Canadian values and culture in a clear, instantly recognizable way. From a technical perspective, the 1989 25-cent coin is composed of pure nickel 100%, giving it its silvery white appearance, resistance to corrosion, and a distinct metallic resonance when dropped. It has a diameter of 23.88 millimeters, a thickness of 1.58 millimeters, and a weight of 5.83 grams, with a reeded milled edge features consistent with Canadian quarters from the mid-20th century through the early 2000s. The use of nickel was standard for Canadian coins during this time, though later replaced with multiply-plated steel in 2000 to reduce production costs. Nickel coins like the 1989 quarter are valued not only for their durability but also for their collectible appeal, particularly among enthusiasts who seek out pre-2000 solid alloy coinage. The sharp strike, detailed relief, and satisfying weight of these coins made them favorites among collectors and everyday users alike. In terms of historical context, 1989 was a year of significant global and domestic events. Internationally, it marked the end of the Cold War, with the fall of the Berlin Wall and a wave of democratic reforms sweeping across Eastern Europe. Canada, under Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, was experiencing economic restructuring and engaging in complex trade negotiations that would eventually lead to the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. Domestically, Canadians were also involved in discussions about constitutional reform and national unity, with tensions rising between Quebec and the federal government. Amidst these political and economic changes, the image of Queen Elizabeth II on the coinage served as a stabilizing symbol, one of continuity, tradition, and Canada's long-standing link to the Crown. The mintage of the 1989 Canadian 25-cent coin was substantial, with over 190 million coins struck, making it a very common circulation coin. As a result, circulated examples generally have little market value above face value unless they are in exceptionally high condition. However, coins in mint state, uncirculated, or proof-like condition, particularly those taken from official Royal Canadian Mint sets, can fetch modest premiums, especially among collectors who are assembling complete year sets or tracking the evolution of Queen Elizabeth II's portraiture on Canadian coins. Well-preserved 1989 quarters might be worth anywhere from 50 cents to $2 CAD, with higher values possible for certified coins in MS65 condition or above. Numismatically, the 1989 quarter occupies an interesting position. It represents one of the last years before the introduction of the Dora de Pedri-Hunt portrait, which would appear in 1990 and remain until 2003 as such. Collectors interested in the different phases of the Queen's reign may view the 1989 quarter as part of a transitional series, both a continuation of the Arnold Macon effigy and a farewell to the era in which her youthfulness was emphasized on Canadian coins. Moreover, its composition as a solid nickel coin makes it a desirable inclusion for collections focused on metal content and pre-modern minting. Top 3. The 1975 Canadian 25-cents coin, often known simply as a quarter, is a significant artifact of Canada's circulating currency that brings together royal symbolism, national wildlife, and mid-20th century Canadian history. Struck by the Royal Canadian Mint, this coin features a highly recognizable design that continued the visual traditions established in earlier decades while still reflecting the values and identity of 1970s Canada. The obverse front of the coin displays the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by British sculptor Arnold Match. This profile, used from 1965 until 1989, presents the Queen facing to the right, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a piece of jewelry closely associated with her official royal appearance. The depiction is refined, youthful, and regal, symbolizing her enduring reign in Canada's constitutional monarchy. Around her image is the inscription Elisabeth Cadua Degi Regina, a Latin abbreviation meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This phrasing, rooted in traditional British coinage, emphasizes her sovereign status and her ceremonial role as the Queen of Canada. On the reverse back of the 1975 25-cent coin is the classic caribou designed by Canadian artist Emmanuel Hahn. The caribou, a large antlered mammal native to Canada's Arctic and boreal regions, stands in majestic profile facing left. Its tall antlers and calm demeanor reflect Canada's natural splendor, strength, and wilderness heritage. The reverse design remains largely unchanged since 1937 and is a hallmark of Canadian coinage. Above the caribou appears the word Canada, while below is the denomination 25 cents, and the year 1975 is split evenly on either side of the antlers. This minimalist but powerful wildlife motif is deeply rooted in Canadian culture, symbolizing freedom, endurance, and the deep connection between Canadians and their environment. It is widely respected in the numismatic world for its simplicity, symbolic clarity, and long-standing use. In terms of composition and specifications, the 1975 25-cent coin is made of 100% nickel, which was standard for Canadian quarters during this period. This pured nickel composition gives the coin a durable silvery appearance with slightly bluish undertones. The coin weighs 5.83 grams, has a diameter of 23.88 millimeters, and a thickness of approximately 1.58 millimeters. The edge is reeded grooved, a common anti-counterfeiting and design feature carried over from older precious metal coins. The solid nickel construction provides resistance to wear and corrosion, meaning that many coins from this era remain in good condition today even after decades of use. At the time, the Canadian Mint had not yet switched to multiply-plated steel, which would become common in later decades to reduce production costs. Historically, the year 1975 was a time of transition and reflection in Canadian society. The country was approaching its 100th anniversary of Confederation, celebrated in 1967, and national pride was evolving alongside social and political change. The 1970s saw increasing debates around national identity, bilingualism, Indigenous rights, and economic independence. Queen Elizabeth II remained a unifying symbol of stability and tradition amid these shifts, and her image on the currency helped reinforce the constitutional monarchy's role in Canadian governance and heritage. In this way, the 1975 quarter serves not just as a means of transaction but also as a daily reminder of Canada's evolving national character and its place within the Commonwealth. In terms of mint, the 1975 Canadian 25-cent coin was produced in large quantities for circulation, with over 109 million coins struck that year. This high production volume means that the coin is not rare, and circulated examples are typically worth only their face value, 25 cents CAD. However, collectors often seek out high-grade specimens in uncirculated MS-60 and above, or proof-like condition, which may be found in mint sets issued by the Royal Canadian Mint. These superior condition coins can fetch anywhere from $1 to $5 Canadian, with higher values possible for coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional grading services. Additionally, some collectors are drawn to this coin for inclusion in full-year date runs, collections of mark and portrait coins, or series featuring pre-plated metal compositions. From a numismatic perspective, the 1975 quarter remains a staple in Canadian collections due to its classic design, durable metal content, and the historical moment it captures. Its combination of Queen Elizabeth II's youthful yet royal image with the noble caribou design bridges the values of tradition and natural identity that define Canada's cultural fabric. The coin also reflects the minting technologies and standards of the era, with strong die strikes and consistent finishes that make it a satisfying addition for both novice and experienced collectors. While not particularly rare or valuable in circulated condition, its role as part of the long-running series of matte and portrait quarters and pure nickel coinage ensures that it maintains an enduring place in Canadian numismatic history.